You've heard the messaging. End the stigma. Bring your whole self to work. Be vulnerable. Tell your manager. What nobody tells you is what actually happens when you do. Let's be real about disclosure. Fears of losing credibility, getting passed over for promotions, even getting fired. Those are all documented reasons people don't tell their employer about a mental health issue. And here's the thing, those fears are largely justified. Negative career consequences after disclosure are well documented and still pretty common. But even knowing that, people still disclose because they need accommodations, because they're exhausted from hiding it, because they think their manager will be different than other managers, because they know their performance is slipping. So what actually happens when you do? Your odds of getting a promotion or more responsibility when you come back, they do go down. Unless maybe your manager has personal experience with mental illness. And can you really blame them? Here's what your manager is quietly calculating. During a mental health struggle, and often for a good stretch into recovery, performance drops. You're showing up, but you might be running at half capacity. Researchers call that presenteeism. At your desk, not really there. And getting better clinically and getting back to full work capacity don't happen on the same timeline. Recovery takes longer than most people expect. It's actually not that different from what happens when a woman leaves to have a baby. Performance drops. The timeline is uncertain. And statistically, a meaningful number don't come back at all, or come back half present for longer than anyone planned. Managers do the same math. We can argue about whether that math is fair, but pretending they're not doing it or their performance doesn't impact a company's bottom line, at least in the nearer term, it doesn't help you. Meanwhile, employers know that openly citing mental health as the reason for passing someone over is legally risky, so it often gets dressed up as a performance issue or a restructuring instead. You may not be at full capacity. Your employer may also be discriminating. From the outside, those two things can look exactly the same. Whether you can blame them for the hesitation, that's a harder question that most people want to sit with. And here's the flip side. People who come through serious mental health crises often become better leaders than they were before. More resilient, more empathic, sharper emotional intelligence, a different ability to connect with people. Post-traumatic growth is real and well-researched. Two things are true at once. You may be less effective for a while, and you may eventually be more effective than you've ever been. Here's a distinction worth making. Stigma is internal. The shame you carry about yourself and the way other people's discomfort lands on you. Discriminatory decisions at work are something else. Those are structural. When you conflate the two, you end up fighting the wrong battle. For the stigma piece, once you're well enough, education helps. Building people around you who can reality check what you're actually experiencing matters a lot. Because one real risk of hypervigilance is that you go looking for evidence of stigma, and lo and behold, you find it more often than it's actually there. That's not a character flaw. That's what a nervous system in recovery does. But it's worth knowing about yourself. Now, here's another thing nobody talks about, and honestly, it might be the most important part of this video. When you're leaving one world, the world where you were functional, you were high performing probably, normal, and you land in no man's land, it is a profoundly lonely place. I have been there. And when you're that isolated, any group that gets you, sees you, welcomes you, that starts to feel like home. Mental health communities can be extraordinary, life-saving even, but there's a risk in that belonging. You start identifying with the diagnosis, the crisis, the struggle, and this is more likely the case for Gen Z and millennials than older generations, and that identification starts doing work for you. It lowers the bar. It creates an audience for your suffering. It gives you permission to stay small. The victim posture, and I say this with compassion, can be oddly seductive precisely because It's coherent. It explains everything. It asks very little of you. And it is profoundly incompatible with recovery. The most dangerous version of this isn't the person calling out discrimination. It's the person who has quietly decided they want the bar to stay low and may not even realize it yet. So here's what I'd ask instead. Get really clear on what you want your life to look like after this phase is behind you. Not how limited you are right now, not how much people need to lower their expectations of you, but who you're becoming. Probably someone with more resilience, probably someone with more sympathy, more empathy, more hard-won wisdom than most people in the room. That's not toxic positivity. I'm allergic to that. That's just a choice about the story you decide to build toward. See you next time.